All right. All righty. It's not ESPN. It's 30 for 30 or even 60 for 60. It's my 98 for 98. The 98 seasons in the history of the New York Football Giants. Going to try to get it done in 98 days. I'm going to fall just a little bit short, but I am going to get done. I should have it done on September 10th, which is the first day. Well, not the first day of the NFL season, but the first day of the Giants season when they take on those Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. And we're at the almost there. 2020 season, the 96th season in the history of the New York Football Giants. 96th season for the Giants, 101st season in the history of the NFL. NFL started in 1920, Giants started in 1925. The Giants are 5 years younger than the NFL is. 2020, it was just a weird season. COVID, the Giants had, they fired Pat Shermer after he went 9 and what it would be 23 in his. It was 2018 and 2019, 2 seasons. He was 5-11, then he went 4-12. So good offensive mind, but not a good overall coach. So the Giants and Dave Gettleman and his wisdom. I mean, he brought in and so signed Joe Judge. Now Joe Judge was good at talking. He was good at talking. I mean, he could talk his way. I mean, he knew a decent amount and all and everything. He was kind of like, a lot of people said he was like Bill Belichick's right-hand man. He was a special teams coach for the Patriots, but he knew quite a bit. He was with Alabama, right? So he'd been around a bunch of Saban and Belichick, some winning organizations. And when he came in and had his interview, he was very good at talking. When during the season, they would have a show, the Joe Judge show. Bob Papa and Carl Banks would be on, and when they would talk about a play, Joe, asked Judge, Coach, hey, what's going on in this play or something like that, Judge, I mean, he had the answers. I mean, he could stand there and diagram things, or especially special teams, what he wants the guys to do, and he could stand there for like a half an hour going over, not a half an hour, but go over it for a long time. Every little nuances of the play, where we want this guy, his head on this side as he's doing this, and we want this, and he just go on and on and on. It sounded like he knew a lot. Not to say he didn't, but but he was very good at talking. Very, very good at talking. He, especially answering questions when he was with the media, he just stare right at the person. They ask him a question. He wasn't like, well, we're trying to work on the person would ask the question, and he would just stare at him the whole time. He was like right into their soul. He wouldn't. I don't even know if he'd even blink. He just staring at him the whole time. They'd ask the question, and he'd answer the question. He listened to the question, staring into their soul. Then he'd answer the question, still staring right. I don't even know if he blinked, but he'd have responses for everything, right? He didn't stumble over his words. He just, everything was right out. Bam, 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 bam. And responses for everything. Like, I don't know if he's practiced them or exactly what it was, but he had something for everything. And, so, I mean, certainly gave you some hope. It was the tale of kind of like 2 seasons, really. I mean, well, actually, you can say 3 seasons. Because first of all, there was no preseason. The games were canceled because of COVID. I mean, COVID was, it was rampant. It was a serious thing. So there was no preseason. They canceled all the preseason games. So, I mean, it was, you got a new regime coming in, trying to take over and develop a team and this, that, and the other thing. And you couldn't, I mean, sometimes you maybe couldn't be with the guys because of COVID. And if somebody got too close to somebody who had COVID, they had to be quarantined. And it was just crazy. So it was like very difficult to get anything or any kind of continuity going, especially early on. Because, sometimes you couldn't talk to guy face to face. It was just very, very difficult. I mean, so all the preseason games were canceled. So he had kind of, he was behind the 8 ball right off the start, right? So the second part of the season, right, was the first, 8 games. Giants were 1-7. And, a couple of the games they lost were just like, wow, man. We stink. I mean, we're really bad, And then all of a sudden, the final 8 games of the season, the Giants were 5-3. I mean, there was like no fans in the stands. The Giants went to Seattle. Of course, there was no 12th man there, but Russell Wilson. It's tough to. Well, I mean, a lot of reasons why it's tough to win in Seattle is because of the crowd, but it's also tough to win in Seattle because Pete Carroll's a great coach. Russell Wilson's a great quarterback. They usually have a very good team. The Giants had Colt McCoy, a backup quarterback. We go into Seattle and we win the game 17-12. It's like, oh my God, baby, we're turning the corner here. Woo, here we go, baby. But, it gave you some hope. The week before that, I think they really did a great job against Cincinnati. Things really started looking good. They were 5-3 in the second half. So even the fact that they still were 6-10, they just missed the playoffs, this, that, and the other thing, which we're going to go over in a minute too. We're going to go over a little bit. They're missing the playoffs. Don't you worry about that. It gave you hope for the following season. It's like, all right, okay. We were 6-10, started 1-7. We finished 5-3. Okay, I mean, there was no preseason, so you got to give them a little bit of a mulligan, right? 1-7, new regime. We took over a team that stunk. We 1-7 because we stunk, but then the Joe Judge factor started kicking in, and guys started believing in this, that, and we went on the road with a backup quarterback. We wound up with backup quarterback and a backup running back, Wayne Train Allman. There's no Saquon. Saquon was out the whole season. Wayne Train Allman led the team in rushing and all that. We still won in Seattle. It's like, man, okay, all right, we got this. Nah. Nah. But it was just tough. I mean, it was just a difficult season. Very, very tough for any team. Even if you won the Super Bowl, it was a tough season. It was very, very difficult. There was no fans in the stands at all. My son and I were planning on going to, actually was going to be the first game ever in the Rams' new stadium. My son likes the Cowboys. Yeah, I know. I don't know how that happened, but. And the Cowboys' first game of the season was in Los Angeles. The first game ever in their new stadium, the Chargers/Rams new stadium, beautiful stadium, was the Cowboys and the Rams. It was Sunday night. I believe it was Sunday night. It was Sunday night or Monday night. And we were going to go to the game. We were planning on getting a hotel and flying out there and everything. But this was before COVID. And then COVID, hit, and then, and there was still a chance maybe fans could show up or something, but no, with the COVID, they can't. No fans are like it. But we were going to go to that game, the first one. But then they said they canceled for the most part. Most of the games there was no fans in the stands and all that, and most of them. Some of the games as it went on, there were some fans were allowed in the games and all that, but it was just a very weird season. So, but once again, it was just along the lines of another painful season for the New York Football Giants. So as I said, I was going to say, hey, what did the Giants do in the preseason? As I said, they're all canceled. Every game was canceled. They were supposed to open up let's see here. On August 13th against the Jets, there would be the away team against the Jets at MetLife Stadium. The game was obviously canceled. Then the next week would have been on Saturday, August 22nd, at Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee, against the Titans. And obviously the game was canceled. Then the following week on Saturday, August 29th, they would be home at MetLife Stadium against the Packers. Once again, that was canceled. And they, as usual, they would finish up their 4-game preseason, with the 4th game being against the New England Patriots. And that would have been on September 3rd, home against the Patriots. And once again, that was canceled. So it is what it is. All right, so what does Wikipedia have to say about the 2020 New York Football Giants season? Well, the 2020 season was the Giants' 96th season in the National Football League and their first under new head coach Joe Judge. For the first time since 2003, for the first time since 2003, who the hell put that in there? I don't know. Well, Wikipedia's wrong. If I remember after this, I'll change that. For the first time since 2004, longtime quarterback Eli Manning was not on the roster. Who the heck put 2003 in there? As he announced his retirement on January 22nd of 2020. It was right after the 2019 season ended. Manning led the Giants to 6 playoff appearances, 3 NFC East titles, and 2 Super Bowl wins in 2007 and 2011 season, winning the game MVP title in both Super Bowls. That's right. Good old Eli. Despite starting the season 0-5 for the 3rd time in 8 years, Giants improved on their 4-12 record from the previous season with their Week 13 upset win over Seattle Seahawks and rallied to finish 6-10. But despite beating their division rival, the Dallas Cowboys, the Giants failed to win the NFC East or make the playoffs for the 4th consecutive year, following the Washington football team winning the final game against the Philadelphia Eagles in Week 17, which we're going to go over in just a bit here. Giants would have needed the Eagles to win in order for them to win the NFC East due to their head-to-head record against Washington, and it would have made them the first team in Super Bowl era to make the playoffs with a double-digit losing record. So the Giants, if the final game of the season, which we'll go over, I'm not going to expound upon it too much right this second, but at the final game of the season, which was Sunday night, if the Eagles at home beat the Washington football team, the Washington football team would have been 6-10, but the Giants would have had the head-to-head against them. So the Giants, with a record of 6-10, would have won the division. But you know what? In the long run, the Giants were not going to win the Super Bowl. And actually, the Eagles, which I'll go over in a little bit here, Eagles did the Giants a favor because the Giants, did not need to be drafting in the 20s or whatever it was. Because if they made the playoffs, that's where they would have been drafting, in the 20s. So they needed to draft where they were the following season, which worked out good for the Giants. On July 20, 2020, the Giants confirmed that their home games would take place without fans in attendance due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic in the United States. So it was just a weird season. So let's see, the Giants, but all in all, I mean, if you look here, okay, we're going to go over the Giants draft. I'll tell you what, if you look at this draft, hold on, was it 10 draft picks? I'll tell you what, this is from 2020. Out of 10 draft picks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of them are still on the team. And actually, one of them was on the team last year, too. So, if you went back to 2022, 8 of them were still on the team. But going back to, it's not home run hitters here. We're not talking like, Hall of Famers and this stuff and everything, but this is just 7 out of the 10 from the 2020 class are still on the team. So that's from Dave Gettleman. This wound up being a very, very, very good draft for the Giants. just the couple really good starters, but then there's a bunch of backup guys, special teamers / backup guys that are still on the team. So 7 from going back to 2020, right? So if you go back, a few years, the 7 out of the 10 guys are still on the team, not even practice squad, on the team. So this is a very, very good draft for the New York Giants. So we'll go, obviously we'll start off first round pick was Andrew Thomas. Now, obviously he had his struggles in his rookie season, but each year he got a little bit better. And 2022, he took a nice step forward, and he got snubbed in the Pro Bowl or the All Pro team. But he's looking like he's the stud of the future. He's our left tackle for the next hopefully next 10 years or so, long as he doesn't get injured or anything like that. So he got picked number 4 overall from Georgia, right? Phenomenal pick by Dave Gettleman. Now, there was like 4 going into the class. There was 4 tackles that could have got taken. The Giants got to select the first tackle in the draft, and they took Andrew Thomas. And it looked like they might have made a mistake the first year, but he's really worked his tail off, and he's corrected his problems, and he's looking to be an absolute freaking stud for the New York Giants. So wound up being a fantastic pick for the Giants. And their second pick, is Xavier McKinney from Alabama, safety, right? Very, very, very a good, solid safety. We're not talking best safety in the league or not like that, but a very good, solid safety. His problem is he has to stay healthy now. This is his final season. It's a contract season for him because 2020, 21, 22, and now 23. This will be his 4th and final season. He's looking to get a contract after this season. I think the Giants want to see if he can stay healthy. He missed some games last year, and he missed some games in his rookie season. So it was only his second season as he actually stayed healthy the whole season. So this is going to be a big season for him. He needs to show that he can stay healthy and make some big plays and all that. The Giants hopefully will accommodate him and maybe sign him to a nice little contract going forward. But so it's going to be a big year for Xavier McKinney. But 2020, it's just kind of along the lines of Landon Collins, right? Right. And actually, it was kind of funny because if you kind of look at it, right? Landon Collins was in the second round, but you also look at it in 2015. Who did we draft in the first round, which wound up being absolutely horrible? We took a tackle, Eric Flowers, first round. Second round, took Landon Collins. Here we are, 2020. First round, who we take? Andrew Thomas, a tackle. Second round, who we take? Xavier McKinney. Second round, a safety. Right? So 2015 and 2020 was almost identical. It took a tackle, then it took a safety. First round, second round. But, so it's going to be a big year for Xavier McKinney. Look for hopefully big things for him. Help Big Blue, right? But so it was a very good pick in the second round. Third round pick now, of course, Matt Parrott, right, from Connecticut. He'd take a tackle in the third round. He took Andrew Thomas in the first round and Matt Parrott in the third round. It looked like those were going to be our bookend tackles for the foreseeable future, but it never worked out that way. Matt Parrott's still on the team. He's a backup, right? He's hanging in there. This is his 4th season. Now his contract will be up. A lot of these guys, the contract's going to be up. So a lot of these guys may not be on the roster next year, but we'll have to wait and see. But Matt Parrott, he's there, like the swing tackle, the backup tackle. He's not bad in run protection, but sometimes he suffers against the pass protection. But he's on the team still right now. So, third round pick. I think he could, take somebody in the third round. I think he could have been a little more productive. He has had some injury problems, but I think overall, I think for the third round, they probably could have done a little bit better. But he's still on the team, and he's their backup tackle. So Then the 4th round pick guard, they got Darnay Holmes. Now, once again, this is his final season. Now, he's a little touchy, grabby, squeezy kind of guy out there. He gets a lot of penalties, holding and stuff like that and everything. But, he has a lot of experience. He's played a lot. He's not the lockdown corner. He's maybe not the corner of the future, not like that. So after this season, I'm not exactly sure what they plan on doing with him because, I don't know if he's going to want any type of a big kind of, he ain't going to get no big contract. But, I don't know if he's going to be looking for $5 million, $6 million, $7 million. I don't even know. I don't know if the Giants are going to want to spend that kind of money on him. He's good depth. He sometimes at times when you put him in there starter, he has some good moments, but he also struggles as well too. So I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen with him going forward. But they took Darnay Holmes, a cornerback from UCLA, in the 4th round. 5th round, now we took Shane Lemieux. Same thing here. He's on the team. He's our backup left guard and on the unofficial depth chart, and our backup center. So he's some depth. His problem is this is once again his 4th season, so he's going to want a contract after this season. I'm not sure what the Giants' plans are with him. All right. But, his problem is also he needs to show that he can stay healthy. His 2nd season and his 3rd season, basically, he missed a whole season due to injuries. And he injured himself in preseason. This season, thankfully, knock on wood, he hasn't injured himself in preseason, right? He actually made it to the regular season healthy, right? And he's back up. He's some depth. As I said, once again, got him from Oregon, right? I don't know what the Giants plan on doing with him after this season because I don't know. I'd have a hard time seeing them. Same thing with Matt Perry. I don't know. If they're going to want to invest, $3, $4, $5 million a season, on a backup when they can maybe go draft somebody who could probably be just as good as them. So we'll have to wait and see. Once again, another big season for Shane Lemieux. Now, these next 2 guys, Cam Brown, you got him from Penn State, linebacker, very good special teamers. You're not going to get much at all of anything from him. And now, just to go to show you, the top 7 picks from Dave Gettleman are all still on the team. And so, but I said with Cam Brown, a linebacker from Penn State, once again, his 4th season. He's going to want to be signed next season. I don't have no idea, once again, what the Giants plan on doing with him. You're not going to get much of anything from him as far as good quality play on the defensive side. Special teams, he's very good at special teams. So, as I said, I don't know what the Giants plan on doing after this season. They got a bunch of decisions to make, especially with this draft class here. Andrew Thomas is he's going to be around. Don't have to worry about him. But with McKinney, Parrott, Holmes, Lemieux, Brown, and Carter Coughlin, you're not sure if they're going to be on the team next year or not. So these are big seasons. 2023 is a big season coming up for these New York Giants players. I said, especially Cam Brown, he's decent on special teams. You got some good special teams play with the Giants. Do need help on because their coverage units are very very sketchy. They're not they've had some issues. All right. So once again, it'd be a big season for Cam Brown coming up, but so you said on the defensive side, he's nothing special. So he was the 6th round pick. Then the Giants had 4 7th round picks. They had Carter Coughlin, they got from Minnesota, a linebacker. Same thing with him. He's a little bit better on defensive side, especially in like the middle linebacker position than Cam Brown is. He does, he's okay. He's some depth. If you have to put him in there, he's just depth. That's all he is. But once again, he's decent on special teams. So once again, same thing with him. Going to be a big season for him because this is his 4th season. All 4, it's cool. He's been on the Giants for 4 seasons. Same thing with Cam Brown, right? Lemieux, Holmes, Parrott, McKinney, Thomas. Top 7 guys from 2020 are still on the Giants. Very good. Very, very, very impressive. But as I said, once again, this 2023 season for Carter Coughlin, it's going to be a tough, not a tough, but it's going to be he needs to step up and show, because he won't be on the team next season if he doesn't have a contract, right? So, All right, then you got T.J. Brunson, a linebacker from South Carolina. He played one season, and that was it. Let's see. What did he play here? I think they got him. Let's see. He played in 5 games. That's all. Didn't start any, and that was it. 2020. I think they got him because they traded Eli Apple to the Saints. What a Eli Apple. Getting rid of that moron. They traded him to the Saints, and so they got a draft pick for him. They said T.J. Brunson. Then they had a couple guys that they got compensatory picks because let's see the guys they lost here. Who did they lose? Jamon Brown, Landon Collins, Mario Edwards, Josh Morrow, B.W. Webb, and Kerry Wynn. So they lost quite a few guys, and they wound up with 2 compensatory picks. So with their first compensatory pick, they took Chris Williamson. All right. A cornerback from Minnesota. He didn't play the 2020 season. He played one season in 2021. With Atlanta. So actually, he never even played. He started one game for Atlanta in 2021. And that was he played in 5 games for Atlanta in 2021. He started one, and basically that was it. His career was over. But once again, talking 7th round pick. It's not that easy to hit on 7th round picks. The Giants hit on one with Carter Coughlin. You know, he's still on the team. So, and then the Giants' final 7th round pick, they took Mr. Irrelevant. They had the final compensatory pick in the 7th round. They took Tay Crowder, linebacker from Georgia. So they took 2 guys from Georgia. Their first pick was from Georgia, Andrew Thomas. Their final pick was from Georgia, Tay Crowder. Now, Tay Crowder was a linebacker. He played actually 3 seasons with the Giants, and they then I believe they let him go. He actually one of the seasons he actually led the team in tackles. He had like 132 tackles a couple seasons ago, 2021, I believe it was. Let's see. And we'll say here, 130. I'm sorry, 2021 he had 130 tackles. Last year, 2022, he played in 13 games, started 8, and he had 45 tackles. I mean, he had limitations to him. He really had limitations to him. He could get swept away in the run block. Because he in the inside. I mean, he somebody latches on to him, he's forget about it. So he was certainly a liability on defense. Even though the one year he had 130 tackles, he would miss tackles. As I said, he could get blocked very easy. But so he played 3 seasons for the Giants, though. Mr. Irrelevant. So I said Mr. Irrelevant for the Giants. One season led the team in tackles. He had 130 tackles for the Giants, one of the seasons. So for Mr. Irrelevant, it wasn't too bad of a pick. So overall, I mean, the 2020 draft class was not bad at all. Not bad at all. So you got to give Dave Gettleman some credit, especially for drafting Andrew Thomas, because we have our left tackle. I mean, it's been so long since I've been able to say that. I mean, we even back when we had Deal and Seibert, O'Hara, Snee, McKenzie. I mean, you weren't looking. I mean, Deal wasn't like a lockdown Hall of Fame possibility of a tackle. I mean, no. Since we've had somebody of Andrew Thomas's caliber as a tackle, somebody who could just dominate and all of that, really, and he's improving on his game. And this year in 2023, he should hopefully be even better as long as he stays healthy. I mean, we've had some nice tackles, but nobody as well as he's done. Nobody. I mean, you go back, as I said, in our Super Bowl seasons, you go back to the 90s, we had a couple nice tackles, but the 80s, but nobody of his caliber, certainly not in the 70s. You'd have to go back to probably Rosie Brown back from 53 to 65. We drafted him in the 27th round of the 1953 draft. You have to go back to 1950 by Rosie Brown, to somebody who's our left tackle, who was this dominant. I mean, so what we're going back 70 years, you'd have to go back. I mean, Andrew Thomas is far superior to any tackle we've had probably in the past 70. Well, if you go back to the 60s, past 60 years. So Andrew Thomas is a phenomenal pick. All right. So let's see. So that's that. So let's go over now. Let's go over the Giants, their stats and all that kind of good stuff. Now, their offense was not very good. They averaged 17.5 points per game. Their defense was 9th overall, where they gave up 22.3 points per game. But once again, their offense was 31st out of 32. But once again, it's the Einstein theory. Theory of relativity. Everything's relative, right? If your offense would score some points, they're on the field. And where's your defense? On the sideline drinking Kool-Aid, right? And so when your defense is on the sideline drinking Kool-Aid, how many points is your defense giving up? Well, none, unless your quarterback's throwing pick sixes. But as long as your quarterback's not throwing pick sixes, your defense is on the sideline drinking Kool-Aid, giving up no points. Well, the offense really stunk all season long because Daniel Jones was hurt. Saquon Barkley got hurt in the second game of the season, so our running game suffered, right? So if our offense was better, the defense would have been even better. But so I said our offense, it was certainly a work in progress. 17.5 points per game. Let's see here. Daniel Jones, he missed 2 games due to an injury. He completed 62.5% of his passes. He had 11 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. So, and then of course he also had how many fumbles? He had 10 fumbles. So he didn't lose all of them, but just the fumbles and interceptions, there was 20, which is actually, and that's only in 14 games too. Colt McCoy started 2 games. He went 1-1 as a starter. He completed 60.6% of his passes. He had 1 touchdown, 1 interception in those 2 games. He didn't, he did win the 1 game in Seattle. It was our starting quarterback in there. So Wayne Gallman led the team with rushing 682 rushing yards. Was it 4.6 yards a carry? Alfred Morris, right? He had 238 yards. Devontae Freeman, he had 172 yards rushing. Deion Lewis, he had 115 yards rushing. Saquon Barkley, he played against the Steelers in the first game, and then the second game of the season against the Bears, he got injured. He had 19 carries for 34 yards. He averaged 1.8 yards a carry. Holy cow. The Giants as a team averaged 4.4 yards a carry. They averaged 110 yards a game. They on defense, they gave up 111 yards a game, so not too bad. Let's see. Is that Wayne Gallman that led the team? He had 6 rushing touchdowns. The Giants, let's see, they're passing. Wayne Gallman had 21 receptions. Deion Lewis had 19 receptions. Sterling Shepard had 66. Evan Ingram had 63, and he was a Pro Bowler. Let's see. Darius Slayton led the team in receiving yards with 751. He had 50 receptions. C.J. Board had 11 receptions. Golden Tate had 35. Caden Smith, my man, Caden Smith had 18. Austin Mack had 7 receptions. Levine Toilolo, he had 5. Dante Pettis had 4 receptions. Damian Ratley, he had 4 receptions. So, a bunch of guys caught some balls, but it was just especially with Daniel Jones got hurt and Saquon Barkley got injured in the beginning of the second game of the season. Basically, ripped just took the heart right out of the offense. It was just, we were not quite the same offense. Let's see what we got here. Graham Gano was our kicker. Once again, another phenomenal season. We're so lucky we got that guy. He was 31 out of 32 on field goals. 96.9% field goal percentage. Absolutely freaking phenomenal. He missed more extra points. He missed 2 extra points. He missed more extra points than field goals. That doesn't usually happen. That's pretty rare. Riley Dixon, another great season, 44.8 yards punting. He had 6 touchbacks, but he kicked 28 balls. 43.1% of his balls, his punts, landed inside the 20. Another great season. Let's say the Giants. Let's say their defense. Well, yeah, they had 40 sacks. Not too bad, right? But their offensive line gave up 50 sacks. That's not too good. I mean, once again, as you know, let's see here. What we got? Advanced process and players. Is that going to give it to me? I mean, yeah, we got as so many years and years and years that once again the Giants' offensive line is a work in progress. Well, now the Giants right now have 3. Now, who they're going forward as the years go by, a guard, who knows? Is it going to be a revolving door year in, year out? Who knows? Are they going to draft a guard? I mean, I think it's Joshua Zudu is going to somewhere along the line. They have envisions because they drafted him in the 3rd round. So they have visions of him becoming a starting guard. You draft a guard in the 3rd round, you expect him to be maybe a starter at some point in time. So maybe sometime Joshua Zudo will wind up actually being our starting guard. But right now we have 3 of the 5. We got Thomas, we got Neal, and we got John Michael Schmitz. So, but I mean, in 2020, we had Andrew Thomas, who was a rookie, and he struggled. He really struggled. Then we had Shane Lemieux. He was a rookie. He struggled as well, too. He really struggled. Then we had Nick Gates at center. He did an adequate job. Of course, then we had Kevin Zeitler, who was a very, very good guard. But the problem was that he only lasted for like another season or so. Then he became like a cap casualty. We had to let go of him to save some money. So sadly, we had to let Kevin Zeitler, our best offensive lineman, go at the time. We had to let him after like I think he played 2 seasons for the Giants, and we had to let him go to save some salary cap. So but then we had Cameron Fleming, who was our right tackle. So I mean, it was not a pretty sight for the offensive line. As I said, Daniel Jones and Cole McCoy got sacked 50 times. We averaged a little over 100 yards a game rushing the ball. It was not a banner season for the. I said we always have 17. What I said, 17.5 points a game. Yeah, we have 17.5 points a game, which is 31st out of 32 teams, which is not very, very good at all. So, all right. So let's go over the games here, shall we? All righty, absolutely. All right. First game of the season, the Giants played at home against Pittsburgh. The Giants lost 26-6. The Giants had some opportunities. Daniel Jones joined in. The Giants had the ball inside the Pittsburgh 5-yard line. Daniel Jones got hit as he was throwing the ball. The ball flips up in the air, and Hayward, I think it was, intercepted the ball. Let's see. So the Giants lost that on at least a field goal there. They scored a touchdown with a minute 52, and they went for a 2-point conversion. They missed that. But, I mean, let's see here. Cameron Hayward. I think he's the one that intercepted the pass. Yeah. Let's see. Yep, he had an interception. T.J. Watt had an interception. They're just costly. Very, very costly. They had, three sacks on the Giants. I mean, but just, it was just very, very costly interceptions. I mean, the fact that, the Giants were actually winning 10-3. Then they were down 26-10. They scored a touchdown. As I said, I mean, the interception Daniel Jones had inside the 5, that took at least 3 points off the board. The Giants, if they could have kicked the field, just kicked the extra point on their final touchdown, they would have had with the field goal and the extra point, so it would have been 26-20. It could have been a little bit closer, but I said those interceptions were very costly. And once again, their offensive line was absolutely horrible. They ran the ball 20 times for 29 yards. I mean, they couldn't run the ball at all. Saquon Barkley he ran the ball 15 times for 6 yards. I mean, just The offensive line was absolutely just, in shambles. It was horrible. Second game of the season, this is when they lost to the Bears in Chicago, and this is when Saquon Barkley got injured, and he was out for the whole season. So Giants lost to Chicago 17-13. Now the next game was the 40. This was just they played the 49ers at home. The 49ers, I believe, the week before played the Jets. They stayed out here on the East Coast. They played back-to-back games at MetLife Stadium. They played the Jets, and they lost like 2 or 3 guys. I think Bosa was one of them. They lost like 2, 3, 4 guys to injuries for like the season or for lengthy periods of time. Where they were playing with a backup quarterback against the Giants. Let's say, and they beat the Giants 36-9 with basically like a bunch of backups. We lost 36-9 to a bunch of freaking backups. I mean, holy cow! I mean, who? Let's see, who do they have playing for them? Nick Mullins. Nick Mullins was 25 out of 36. Nick, are you freaking kidding me, Mullins? 343 yards. I mean, Daniel Jones was 17 out of 32 for 179 yards. Basically, Nick Mullins had twice as many yards as Daniel Jones did. I mean, just atrocious, absolutely atrocious. The Giants rushing, let's see here in this game. 15 carries for 66 yards. It was just absolutely horrible. I mean, just Daniel Jones, he had all the rushing yards. He had 49 rushing yards. The Giants running backs had 17 yards. The Giants running backs, actually in Deion Lewis, the Giants running backs had 10 carries for 17 yards. I mean, once again, the offensive line was absolutely atrocious. And as I said, we got killed. So they had a bunch of backups in there. 36-9 at home to a bunch of backups. I mean, absolutely atrocious. Then the following week, we played the Rams on the road. Now, this one here, we had a chance. We lost 17-9. We had the ball, and we were driving toward the end of the game. If we scored a touchdown and got the 2-point conversion, we would have tied it up, and we would have gone into overtime. Cooper, I think it was the Cupmeister. He had a long touchdown. I mean, the Rams didn't do much in this game, but Cooper Kupp had a 55-yard touchdown. It was the Rams are winning 10-9. Cooper Kupp had a 55-yard touchdown reception with 6 minutes and 56 seconds left to go in the game, make it 17-9. The Giants got the ball, started driving down the field, but I think Daniel Jones threw an interception, I believe it was. And that ended the drive and ended the game. But the Giants had a chance toward the end there, but they just couldn't quite get it done. Once again, I mean, they scored 9 points on offense. I mean, I don't know how many games you plan on winning, scoring 9 points on offense, especially if you can't score a touchdown. But all right. Then the following week, the Giants lost. And this is once again, this is just another one of those just straight up gut punches right here. The Giants lost to Dallas on the road, 37-34. But the worst part about this one is just unbelievable. The Cowboys scored 2 field goals in the final 2 minutes of the game. The Giants were winning 34-31, and the Cowboys kicked 2 field goals in the final 2 minutes of the game. Kicked a field goal with 1:56 left to go. They got the ball back, drove down the field, and kicked another field goal. So they tied it up with 1:56 to go, and then they wind up winning it as time expired. 2 field goals in the, it's like just a real gut punch. I mean, finally when you get a game and it looks like you got a good chance of winning, you know what I mean?